Alrighty. Holy hell. Alrighty, what the hell is going on, everybody? We are back. I apologize for the issues. I don't know what the hell is even going on anymore. Everything has been updated, and to be honest with you, I don't even know what the hell to do. So today, we are back. It has been a little bit. Check the description, first and foremost, because, well, we had a little real-life scare. Not going to go into details as far as it goes. I'm not going to get too granular with it. But very, very simply, we had a real-life scare. So that's why I've been gone for most of the week. But with that said, happy to be back. And it is going to be business as usual. Today, we are on our little farm over here in Texas. And it is harvest season. So this is all good. We need to get that emptied out. Where's the other one at? Oh, this one is empty. Alrighty then. Well, let's go ahead. Let's start with some corn. And then we'll move into some cotton. Yeah, it's going to be business as usual. We are going to talk a ton of football. We are going to talk a lot that has to deal with the local teams, as evidently there is quite a bit. Actually, I do, but okay. Quite a bit going on locally. And my biggest thing is that it's kind of interesting how this is all going down. But with that said, it is 12:15 here in Michigan. So if we're going to do this, there's no better time than right now. So let's switch it up this week, and let's start out with the picks. This is where TJ and I have created a card with all the games that we are going to bet on, and we will go from there. Now, obviously, if you guys don't know, TJ does report for the local team. So, with that said, that is why a lot of the times on Fridays or usually the weekend, I am the one who has to read off our selections. With that said, we start out with Alabama minus 20.5 taking on Arkansas. I got crushed last week by Bama, so I'm going to take them this week. Very simple. For TJ, he's taking Bama as well. No analysis, but hey, why not? Ohio State, minus 19.5 taking on Purdue. Purdue always seems to give the Buckeyes a little bit of trouble. So you're going to hear me say this a lot. I'm going to lay the points here, and I don't think Purdue wins, but I am going to lay the points and choose Purdue. TJ, He's on the other side of it. It is Ohio State outright. Yes. Game of the week. Washington minus 2.5 taking on Oregon. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's Caleb Williams winning the Heisman this year. I think it's Michael Penix. This kid, I've only seen him a couple times locally, but this kid is something else. And I think he's got the best shot this year, and I think this is going to be his statement game. Go ahead and give me the Huskies minus 2.5. TJ is on the other side of it, and he thinks it's going to be outright Oregon. Probably the most weirdest team that I have watched this season is Washington State. Minus 7.5 taking on Arizona. Go ahead and give me the Cougs here. TJ agrees. LSU minus 11.5 taking on Auburn. So, I'm not even going to make this about the local deal, quite frankly. It's going to be very, very simple. Give me LSU. TJ wants to make it local. And that is, in quotations in the notes here, is Peyton Thorne is a bum. And he will be taking LSU. USC plus 2.5 taking on Notre Dame. This is a tricky spot, but I'm going to take USC here and lay the points. TJ, on the other hand, is taking Notre Dame. And then, of course, my two pet teams in college football of UCLA plus 3.5 taking on Oregon State. I gotta go with my mind here. Have to give me UCLA. TJ is taking the Beavers. And literally, I swear to God, in quotations, quote, this is from TJ in the notes, quote, I love the Beavers, close quote. Not really sure what he meant by that, but well, I think we'll do the math a little bit later. Let's head to Sunday in the National Football League. It is the Bills minus 14.5 taking on the Giants. We are going to mix in a little bit of Giants today. Little something interesting that I found with this weekend's game. The point is, me and TJ are aligned here. It is the Bills outright. Rams minus 6 versus the Cards. TJ is taking the Rams. But you know what? I just can't do it. I'm going to lay the points. Give me the Cardinals. Eagles minus 7 taking on the Jets. Jets have never won. TJ and I are aligned here. It is the Eagles. I know they got some injuries, but A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, probably my favorite connection outside of Goff and Amon-Ra. With that said, the Niners, minus 7.5, taking on the Browns. Now, I know that the line has moved to, I believe it is 10.5. Let me go ahead and get you the actual number here. 9.5. Okay. Very strange situation here. Very, very strange. You've got Deshaun Watson with this injury. To me, it's the Niners and really everybody else. Give me the Niners here. TJ again wants to make it local with PJ Walker. But he is also going to take the Niners. And final game of the week, which we will get into momentarily, Lions minus 3.5, taking on Tampa Bay. This is going to be the best quality opponent you have faced in the last 3 weeks. And I mean that. Give me the Lions. Let's go win game number 4. TJ is on the other hand. And I quote, the red zone defense is going to be a problem. And he's right. Tampa Bay's red zone defense is a problem. He is going to lay the points and take the Bucs. Those are your selections. So, since we are in the noon hour, let's go ahead and let's focus on Michigan. And this has been a very, very interesting week regarding Michigan football. And it's very simple for me. And what I mean by that is that, to me, if they come out today as, I believe it's 32.5-point favorites, and they play the way that they have the last couple of weeks, then here's the deal. You're playing well enough to beat OSU for a third time. My question is, does it merit into a run later in the season to get into the college football playoff? Now, I tend to think they will. But you had Corum's comments before the season. National title or bust. If you are a Michigan fan, you have seen the way that they played the last 2 weeks. And you'll see how they play today as they're playing right now. Isn't this a Isn't it as simple as if they come out today against Indiana as 32.5-point favorites, and again, I know, not a quality opponent, but doesn't it merit the fact of that, okay, now we can start talking about this team in a different light. If they play lights out, how they have the last 2 weeks, now it doesn't guarantee it, but to me, I think it's twofold. You're hearing conversations about this deal of a lifetime contract and everybody being aligned at Michigan that they want Harbaugh to be the head coach. To me, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm looking to stay. Now that does come with caveats, and we'll talk about it. Because I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to find better in the NFL. I know Jim wants to go back to the NFL. We've seen it the last couple of years. However, Jim is doing his job. He's earning his money. Now, I'm not saying it guarantees a national title, because it doesn't. But if I continually see an elite performance, there is one place where my mind goes, and it is very, very simple. It is a collision course with Georgia for a natty. And I told you last stream, I think on a neutral site field, I think that would be not only a Game of the Year candidate, but I gotta be honest with you, I would take Michigan. And I do not say that as smarmy, as a joke, as this... No. I say that because I believe that. Now, I did say I don't think they're beating Texas. If Texas comes out and looks like they did in the Red River, then I'll tell you right now, I'll go ahead and pick Michigan all day. But if this is a lights-out performance, doesn't it elevate this team? Doesn't it elevate the fact of that, okay, now we can begin to have the conversation of Penn State becomes a must-win, Ohio State becomes a must-win, and then this little clock deal becomes we're gunning for Georgia. And that's what I want to know. Do you, as a Michigan fan, have the confidence in this team that not only can you say Blake Corum's comments with your chest, but you can also say this team has backed up that comment? Now again, it's a tall task. It is. But I think it's twofold. I think it's twofold in the fact of that, okay, you come out, you have an elite performance like you did last week. And you continue that into next week, which is rivalry week. And you go ahead, you're gonna be what, 50-point favorites over State? I mean, it's very, very simple in my mind. If this team plays the way that they have and continues to stack these performances, I think it is a collision course with Georgia, period. And I do believe it is going to merit the fact of that, okay, do we need to have the conversation of that Jim is not going to find better in the NFL? This little charade, yes, I did say that, this charade of we're just going to let you look every year at the NFL. Because I'll tell you right now, if I'm Santana, the president at Michigan, which I'll tell you right now, I don't believe those rumors. We're going to get into those momentarily. Here's the point. If I'm Santana, it's simple. I'm having the conversation after the State game. Jim, here's the deal. We're going to offer you a lifetime contract. This is Operation Unicorn. Not only is there going to be an unsurmountable amount of pressure on you to win a national title this year, but Penn State becomes a must-win. We'll give you an incentive for that. Ohio State becomes a must-win. We'll give you an incentive for that. But I think the conversation starts after next weekend. I think when you put Indiana and when you put Michigan State in their proper body bag, I think it's very, very simple. If I'm Santana, I'm having the conversation. Here's the deal. We are going to give you a lifetime contract with incentives, but there will be no more of this idea that we are going to look at this little deal of this NFL tomfoolery. You have the rumors out there this week that everybody is aligned. Every single person is aligned in the fact of that, starting with the president, starting with the BOT, starting with the coordinators, with everybody that is within the University of Michigan, including Ward Manuel, is that they are aligned to get this contract done. I think it is very, very simple. I don't believe that Ward Manuel is on board. I think there is a hold-up within the organization or the university. Because to me, if this would have gotten done already, this would have gotten done already if there was no hold-up. Now, obviously, there's the NCAA deal and all of that. However, I think very, very simply, if you continually begin to stack these performances on top of each other, I think it's time to have a conversation. And I truly mean that. I mean, that's really where I'm at with Michigan. So if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and let's get into the Lions. It is that type of week, and I think you're going to have one of the most interesting weekends regarding this team because of your Week 5 performance. So we're doing a little bit of a double dip today. A little bit of a double dip, a Week 5 reaction, and a Week 6 preview. Coming into this game, I was not on the side of that this is going to be BOGO. Rarely would I ever, and I mean ever, be on that sense. However, it's time to talk about two people as being the cornerstone of your franchise. It is Aiden Hutchinson, who has 4 interceptions. It is Sam Laporta, who continues to get better. Now, I understand he's questionable. But with Sam Laporta and Aiden Hutchinson in their drafts respectively, you drafted one of the best 5 to 7 players out of their drafts respectively. Now I understand Gibbs is hurt. I understand all of it. Now, I do think the pushback would be Brian Branch. But sweet Jesus, how you cannot look at Aiden and see the interceptions, see the motor, see how this kid is. Guys, it's the very reason I told you I'm not taking anybody else if Aiden is there. And luckily, Jacksonville passed on him. And the Giants took Thibodeau. I mean, I was a slappy for this kid. I loved this kid at Michigan. I loved his motor. And I even said it in his first year. I said straight up, I said bring the kid home. I said it straight up. Bring this kid home because he is going to be a cornerstone franchise player for your Detroit Lions. Guys, he did just that. And he's continuing to do that. Now, I will tell you, there is one thing that I am looking for at the trade deadline, and I'll tell you this. There has to be heat on Brad Holmes for this because of everything that is respectably going on this team. The injuries, all of it. I need Aiden a buddy. Now, it doesn't have to be, I'm not looking at a mid-range guy. I'm not looking at a superstar. I am looking for a equivalent to Aiden Hutchinson. I absolutely need that because let me tell you something. I can shred all of these rumors that has come out this week. Don't get me wrong, I love the players. However, I don't think you are in a state yet where you can be giving up premium draft capital to go ahead and go and get yourself a superstar. Now, do not get me wrong. Let me just tell you this right here, right now. Let's just say Max Crosby is on the table. If Max Crosby is on the table, I'm going to be the first one telling you right here, right now, get on the phone. Brad, pick up the phone and let's go get this guy. Guys, it's simple. With the way that this team is playing right here, right now, and if they get a win tomorrow, it aligns with everything that I'm going to say. If this team continually plays the way that they do and puts up these performances on top of each other, and we get Aiden a buddy, then start to have the freaking expectation of going to the NFC Championship game. You make a move like that to simply not only win a playoff game, but to go farther in the playoffs. I love the way that this team is playing. I love it. It is the best start since 2011. Very, very simply, if it's Brian Burns, that's fine. But I can't sit here and say confidently we are in a state where this franchise can now be able to give up premium draft capital to make that kind of move. However, one thing about the NFL that I think we tend to forget as fans is very, very simply, we tend to forget that sometimes the price isn't exactly what we expect. But the problem, you have to pick up the phone and ask. Now, the other problem with obviously Emmanuel Mosley being out for the year, you're going to need to find another corner. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a battle coming up. Because I think people are going to be aligned differently. So let's start there first. Where do you want to go with this? Is it the fact of that, okay, we need to get Aiden a buddy, or do we need another corner? Now look, I think they're both positions of need, but I do believe in the fact of that, okay, if we're going to make a push, the expectation should be not only winning a home playoff game, but making it to the NFC title game. Now, let's move into this. The next 4 games are going to be very, very pivotal for your season. I need to know where you're at with this road trip. You've got Tampa, who I said is going to be, to me, your best quality of opponent the last 3 weeks. You've got the Ravens. So I need to know where you're at on this road trip. Is it the fact of where do you want to go with this? Are we looking at 2-2? Are we looking at 3-1? Are we looking at 4-0? Where are you guys at? For me, look, let's be honest here. Because we dealt with this yesterday, and I had to get on the callers. And I'm going to get on you guys because, look, here's the deal. Well, we're not doing this. Well, it has to be 4-0, and it has to be this and this and this and this and this. We're not doing that. Simply give me a number. For me, if we're going to treat this honestly and truthfully, guys, it's simple. 3-1. 3-1 this road trip. Now, it's not going to be easy, but I think you go 2-2, I think fans are going to be disappointed. I think you go 1-4, I think it's going to be right back to panic mode. But let's be honest about this. This is the NFL, and as cliche as it is, any given Sunday is in play here. Then on top of that, can we make the case about 4-0? Personally, I think this fan base would absolutely go wild if we're talking about 4-0 this road trip. But you're not going to win every game by double digits. You're not going to you're not going to be able to do that. Now look, I'm not saying that it can happen, because I do think the Lions are the better team here. I think they're battle tested. But for me, part two, it's very, very simple. 3-1. And I'll tell you this. This team goes 1-4 on this road trip. I'll blast this team into the sun. But guys, I don't think that's going to happen. This team has matured. This team has grown the F up. Quote unquote. My quote. From that Monday show reacting to week 5. Very, very simply, guys, you're eventually going to lose a game. And to me, I'll be quite honest with you. And I hate doing this, and this goes against every freaking thing that I have, that I will ever do. But guys, I could see 4 more losses the rest of the season. I am aligned with Uncle Rico in that sense of that. Very, very simply, 4 more losses the rest of the season. You are talking about something that nobody expected this season. You had people going 9-8, 10-7, 11-6. Guys, if that's the case, you're looking at 12-5. And I know that that's hard to even begin to think about. But guys, here's the deal. I'm not going to come on here and just say, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Guys, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to give you a damn opinion, and I'm going to do my best to back it up. That's how this goes. Period. If we are going to look at this season differently, and we are going to believe this team is different, I'm not going to be like the people we talked with yesterday and, oh, well, they're going to beat everybody by double digits. No, because I don't believe that. But very, very simply, you continually go ahead and stack these performances on top of each other. You continue to put forth this aggressiveness on defense. You continually put in this wizardry on offense. Oh, and trust me, there's another part to that we're going to get into because it's been a big conversation here. We'll get into it momentarily. However, you continue to do that. Guys, we can begin to make the pathway for this to happen. And here's the last thing I'll say. To me, you have a team that believes in each other. So you know what? This is my call to Lions fans. It's time we start believing in each other. We're not doing this every week of, well, they're going to do this. Well, I'm just so scared about this week. No. We are going to begin in week 6 of the NFL season. We are going to believe in each other. We are going to believe in this team. And we are going to begin to mark the pathway for us and this goal to be met. End of story. Now, let's get into part 3. You have the bye week coming up. And this is going to be something that, yeah, we are going to talk about during the bye week. It's not just going to be trade deadline. How much more does Jared Goff have to do? Guys, Jared Goff is playing some of his best football right here, right now. Now, I am spitballing here. Actually, I have the note right here. 7,200 yards in his last 29 starts with the Lions. 7,200 yards, 50 touchdowns, 12 picks, and a QBR of 101. How much more does this guy have to prove? His story is about resilience. This team embodies the head coach, which is grit, resilience, kneecaps. $50 TDs and 12 picks. And let me tell you something. You win a home playoff game, and you get to the NFC title game. Guys, the price is only going up. So, A, how much more does Jared Goff have to do? And B, when do we talk about this guy as being our franchise QB? And I'm not talking about 2, 3, 4 years down the road like some other people have done. I'm not doing that. I'm talking about right here in the now. Because I will tell you, if you go 3-1 on this road trip in the next 4 games, and then we get into the fact of the bye week, guys, there's going to be pressure on the organization to get this done. And let's just fast forward, and let's just say you make it to the NFC title game. Guys, the price is only going up. And before you come on here and you come at me and you want to say, well, he's just not that good, he's just not that flashy, then do me a favor and answer me this question honestly. What replaces winning? Go ahead. What replaces winning? Nothing. Guys, he's winning for you. We all thought that very, very simply, this guy was just going to be a bridge QB. He didn't whine. He didn't say, oh my God, I'm going to Detroit. He put his head down. He went to work. And he found a home. Like, it's simple. And then here's the other thing. Laporta. Well, actually, I have two things for you. Right here, right now, as Laporta continues to get better, in my opinion, as I just said with Aiden Hutchinson, he is one of the 5 to 7 best rookies that you drafted and is going to be a cornerstone franchise player for this franchise. And right now is a top 3 tight end in this league. This guy is a stud. And then number 2. The next 4 weeks is going to tell you a lot. I can't say it right now, but I am going to give you this comment by our very own offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson. This comes from Corey E. Woods, Lions offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson said the biggest issue with Jameson Williams is that they haven't been able to stack good days on top of each other since his arrival. Close quote. I think the next 4 weeks is going to tell you a lot about this young man's future. And I'll be quite honest with you, in that Carolina game, I think he saw the linebacker coming out of the corner of his eye, and I think he didn't want to get hit. I don't need J-Mo smiling after a drop. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at the other side of things. Let's just say the guy lights it up the next 4 weeks. Guys, it's simple. If he lights it up the next 4 weeks, I think we can begin to have the conversation of, okay, we're finding the middle ground. But if he doesn't, yeah, I do think there's going to be repercussions. I really do. And look, to me, it's very, very simple. If we're going to go ahead and we're going to have this guy, guys, Dan Campbell preaches blocking from his wide receivers, his tight ends. Yeah, J-Mo can block, But I think this comment by Ben Johnson, guys, I think it tells you there's a target on this young man's back the next 4 weeks of that. Guys, we traded up to get you. We traded up to get you, J-Mo. And now, you got to go out there and prove it. And here's the other thing. Listen to the verbiage in what Dan Campbell, in what Ben Johnson, Jared Goff talk about Jameson Williams. And then listen to the verbiage of how they talk about other players. Josh Reynolds, for example, being the unsung hero of this team. Guys, it's very, very simple. I think the next 4 weeks is going to tell you a lot about this kid's future. I think it's going to tell you a lot as far as where we are at with what we're going to do with this kid. In listening to the verbiage, no, I can't help but think that, okay, maybe, just maybe, this guy very, very well might be a part of a package deal for the trade deadline. And if he is, you ain't going to hear me crying. And not only that, but let me ask you this. Because this has been on my mind all week. And I literally have it in bold letters on the board behind me currently. Guys, at the end of the day, who am I playing Jameson Williams over? I'm not playing him over Laporta. I'm not playing him over Amon-Ra. I'm not playing him over Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. And miss me with the whole, well, you're being negative. No, I'm not. The guy is a liability on the field. You don't hear the reports of he's lighting it up at practice. You don't see the fact of him lighting it up in games. And I got to be honest with it. Yeah, I hated the fact that he was sitting there smiling after he dropped that pass. Like, I don't need you smiling. Like, what are you so happy about? You just dropped the pass. And everybody is going to be on you. Because everybody wants you to be a part of this winning team. Because J-Mo is the final piece to this offense that this team needs. In the fact of that, he can stretch the field. He can be a decoy. He's a speedster. All of it, which we have already talked all about. But if you're not stacking good days on top of each other, you're stacking these performances of drop after drop. And miss me with last year. Yes, I know. He got the touchdown. That's great. But we're not talking about last year. We're on to bigger and better things. We are talking about right here, right now. In the now. And so for me, I think it's going to be very, very simple. I think the next 3 weeks, or the next 4 weeks, it is going to be – very, very simple. For this kid's future, for what this kid is going to do for this team. So with that said, I'm going to do a shorter version here, a little bit granular, of the presentation of the top 3 things we're talking about with the Lions here. It's the best start since 2011. And I think each time this team wins, I think the expectation grows. I'm looking at 3-1 out of the next 4. I don't think you're beating people by double digits in every game. Eventually, you are going to lose a game. You're on top of the NFC North. You're the team to beat in the NFC North. Part 2, it's simple. I think out of their drafts respectively, with Aiden Hutchinson and Sam Laporta, 2 of the 5 to 7 best rookies that are going to be a part of this franchise. 2 of the best 5 to 7 rookies drafted in their drafts respectively. They're both studs. When it comes to the trade deadline, I do think the biggest thing is that, A, I want to see you active. I don't want to hear this nonsense of that, no, we're just going to stick with our guys. And very, very simply, I think it's you need to get Aiden a buddy. And I'm not talking about low to mid. I'm not talking about a superstar. I'm talking about a star on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, to where every single time they step out on that field, the expectation is we're going to meet up at the QB. Period. And I think with Emmanuel Mosley and CJ GJ out for the year, I do think you need to find a corner. And in part 3, how much more does Goff have to prove? In his last 29 games, a QBR of 101, 12 picks, 50 TDs, and 7,200 yards. Everybody thought we were going to get rid of him after a couple years. He has played his way into being the franchise QB of this franchise. And I'm going to trust this guy. And not only that, but if you disagree, then answer my one question. It's very, very simple. What replaces winning? Here, let me help you. Absolutely nothing. And as far as the second part, part 3, is Jameson Williams. I think the comment by Ben Johnson this week of that very, very simply, that we're not stacking good days on top of each other, I think it's not only a damning comment, but I think it's a comment of, I think it tells you a lot about the next 4 weeks as we head into the trade deadline. I think it tells you a lot about this kid's future. I think it tells you a lot about this regime. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think the guy wanted to get hit in the Carolina game after the drop. I didn't need the smile. No, I need to see this kid. I need to see reports coming out of practice. I need every single writer on Twitter on X, whatever the hell it's called, talking about J-Mo, talking about the fact this kid is lighting it up. This kid is blowing past our very own defense, is out there stretching the field, is out there as a decoy. Guys, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes preach to their wide receivers, their tight ends, and their running backs. They have to block. You don't block, no rock. Period. As far as part 4, I'll throw it right back at you. It's very, very simple. This is my call to action for Lions fans. Look, you're not beating every team by double digits. Now, we'd love to see that because we're fans of this team. But very, very simply, the cliche of any given Sunday, yes, it does play. Every opponent should be taken seriously. And very, very simple. If this team is going to believe in each other, then you know what? It's time, as us as fans, it's time for us to believe in each other. It's time for us to believe in this team. And then the final thing for me is I see 4 more losses the rest of the way. We're talking about something that nobody said in their preseason predictions. Because if you did, you got laughed off the phone by certain hosts. And I ain't talking about me. And then also, whenever you're listening to the radio or the TV or whatever, it is the fact of that listen to the verbiage of Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, AG, Brad Holmes. Listen to the fact of the verbiage in which they talk about J-Mo and the verbiage in which they talk about Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. Listen to the verbiage, because it's a hell of a lot different. Okay. With that said, by the way, here's another stat for you. This comes from Barstool Gambling. Aiden Hutchinson in his career has 4 interceptions. All other top 5 picks in the 2022 NFL Draft combined: Trayvon Walker, Stingley out of LSU, Sauce Gardner, and Kayvon Thibodeau, all combined, have 4. And I don't care what anybody says. That pick in the Carolina game was sick. Put that on a fucking mural in the center of Detroit. That one-handed grab is why Lions fans should love Aiden Hutchinson. And oh, let me remind you, Aiden Hutchinson is an edge. Let's get into this. So this is the NFC playoff picture after week 5. And guess who you'd be taking on? It'd be the 3-6 matchup. Falcons at Detroit. Anybody want to see that game again? I mean, here's the deal. I mean, let's be honest. We gotta get Gibbs healthy. We gotta get Jack Campbell healthy first. And then you want to talk about storylines? Bijan versus Gibbs. Round 2. Let's freaking go. Oh, want another stat? I got him for you. Here's the best one. Panay Sewell in week 5. 30 pass blocking snaps. 0 pressures. And right now, we talked about this, and this comes by way of Pro Football Focus. Now, I didn't believe it at first because of the injuries, because of the different formations within the O-line that the Lions have to play with. Guys, you are at number 2 after 5 weeks, with number 1 being the Eagles. Now, I'm going to wait a little bit before I make this proclamation. But guys, you're right there. You are so close to rivaling the Eagles' offensive line. If I were to tell you at the start of the season that through 6 weeks, by the numbers, you would be right there, so close. Man, oh man, you'd take that in a heartbeat. So here's this, and I want to talk about this because I think it's interesting. But here's the deal. Should the Lions take a look at Frank Clark? Now, I know Kansas City is the most likely scenario, but guys, could you imagine Frank Clark, who, by the way, is a free agent, could you imagine him on this defense? Because let me tell you something with the Brian Burns, Max Crosby, deal here. To some host, it has created this weird ass narrative of getting rid of James Houston. Now, I will tell you simply, if you get rid of James Houston, then we're going to have a problem. The guy got injured, for Christ's sakes. But first and foremost, we have to wait until November to see how this is going to go, see if he comes back, see if he's a little bit better, whatever it may be. But I want you to think about this. Okay? Go and get a wet wipe, because you're going to need it. Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Frank Clark, Isaiah Buggs, and John Kaminsky. The commish. I want you to think about that. Real quick. Go ahead. And let me say again, yes, I understand that Kansas City is the most likely scenario. But guys, he's clutch in the postseason. And you know what you need if you're going to make it to the NFC title game? If you're going to make it to a home playoff game and you're going to win that game, you need a dude. You need a dog in the middle of that line. And you need somebody who is going to literally get after the quarterback. And is going to help Aiden Hutchinson, is going to help Aleem McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, John Kaminsky. I screamed for it then, and I'm screaming for it now. Get after it, Brad. Let's go. You want to talk about this team doing something that nobody expected. Go get Frank Clark. The guy is a machine in the postseason. And if we are going to talk about playoffs and NFC titles and winning the division, you need a dog. And that's exactly what Frank Clark is. Yes, he's a horrible human being. I get that. But you know what? How many others that are in the National Football League have this little bit of checkered past? Plenty of them. The guy is the record holder for sacks in the postseason. If we're going to be legitimate and we're going to talk about titles and we're going to talk about this team being them, being that team, you go get Frank Clark. Period. You go and you bolster that defense and you make a deep playoff run. You want to talk about a 12-5 season? Here's the deal. Frank Clark would help you get that. That would be, as I said, Lions fans would need a wet wipe. Point blank. Because again, I'll be honest with it. With this Max Crosby deal, this whole little Brian Burns deal, as good as you are, I do not think this team is ready to be giving up first-round picks. And I mean that plural, to be getting a player of that caliber. I don't think this team is there quite yet. I don't think the organization is there. But if you're telling me I can go and get a free agent and Frank Clark, hell yeah, I'm doing it. Because I want this team, my team, to go out there and I want them to shock the world. Go ahead and prove these dingleberries who want to scream those three little letters and go get Frank Clark and make a damn playoff run. Or make it to the NFC title game and let him go to work. Put him and Aiden together and let them go to work. let's go ahead and let's switch over to hockey. Now, I'll be quite honest with you, I've kind of just been done with the Wings for the past 2 years, really. I've still watched, but here's the deal. Are we aligned yet? It's year 5, and you know what? No, there isn't anybody else that I would want running this franchise. But it's year 5, and to me, it's playoffs or bust. How much more time does this guy get? I grew up in the 90s. I loved watching Stevie. But guys, it's year 5. Like, what are we doing here? To me, it's playoffs or bust. Period. And I'm not going to sit here and question the off-season moves and tell you, well, did we really need to go ahead and go get a 40-goal scorer? Because you did. But I'll say it again. To me, it's playoffs or bust. I'm, as a Wings fan, I'm done waiting. This idea that we're just going to sit around and wait until year 8, guys, this is a passionate fan base. And to me, I'm not going to sit here and do this little song and dance of, well, you got to give him more time. Well, it's a tough division. Well, lottery luck. No, F all that. If Stevie is the guy that we think he is, then it's playoffs or bust. And not only that, but you don't make the moves in the offseason that you did to not make playoffs. Now, let's talk about this. Because I'm going to tell you right here, right now, yeah, we're going to probably give a one segment type of mention to rivalry week because Michigan State's dead. And, I mean, I'm looking at, Michigan being a 30-point favorite, 40-point favorite, at least. I haven't seen the early lines. If anybody's got them, comment them below. We'd love to hear it. But the fact of the matter is that Michigan State's dead. It's not going to be it's not going to be a game. Michigan will put them in a coffin, and we'll just kind of deal with it then. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Because I'll be quite honest, where my mind is right here, right now, it's Lions. It's Lions and seeing what the hell we got going on here for trade deadline. Because as I told you, I do want to see them active. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear BS of that. Well, we're just going to keep our guys and, No. You make the moves to accomplish the goal. Period. Then on top of that, it is going to be this Jared Goff thing. And I told you, God forbid you win a home playoff game, which I want. And I know how this is going to go. The people are going to freak because they'll look at the total number, they'll look at the years, and then it's going to be this whole circus of, whatever. That's great. But very, very simply, I want to have a conversation about it. If you go out and win tomorrow, well, in fact, let me put it this way. I think with every win, I think the price goes up. I really do. And not only that, but Goff's agent, I don't think he's stupid. And I'm sure his agent saw what Daniel Jones got. So let's get into this. Because people want to bring up, well, if you get rid of Goff, I think the fan base would be divided. I really do. So here's your chance. Let's talk about it. Let's just fast forward and let's just go ahead and say that the goal is met. You win a home playoff game and you go 12-5, 11-6, whatever it may be. But we'll use that as an example. And let's say that the inevitable happens and you get rid of Jared Goff. I think the fan base would be divided. And I'd come on here and tell you, you know what? Organizational enema. Whoever granted that idea within the organization should be let go immediately. The guy's story is about resilience. The guy's story is about coming from the Hollywood Hills to being a part of the Motor freaking City and leading this team to a ridiculous 8-2 last season. This season, what we believe in a home playoff game, win. At the end of the day, like that's all it would be. Whoever would grant that would have to be fired immediately. Because there is no world where you could even justify the fact of this idea of getting rid of Jared Goff. And I will ask it again. What replaces winning? If you are winning and you get to the goal that these fans want, that this hungry, passionate, awesome fan base wants so badly, and then you're going to get rid of the guy who helped you get there? I think half the fan base would revolt, probably more than half, because Jared has brought some guys, some of the fans over to his side. I think there would be a revolt. And it's very, very simply. It's very, very simple. There would be no justifying it. And then what it would have to be is, like I just said, it would have to be an organizational enema. It would have to be an organizational enema in the fact of that whoever granted that idea or whoever was in the room of that idea of that this goal was met, and then on top of that, you let go of your franchise QB. that person inexplicably would have to be let go immediately. And I hate to even say it, but I'll tell you this. You know what it would be? I think it would take fans right back to the old days. I really do. And I hate saying that because this year has proven to be the brand new Lions. But I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. If the goal is met this season, I'll tell you right here, right now, this fan base is going to become even more hungry. And this team is going to, or this fan base is going to be even more hungry, and this fan base is going to latch on to this team like they have never done before. This team is in rarefied air. We talked about this the other day. What the F do we do with our hands? Because this is such rarefied air for this team. There would be no justifying it at all. None. Zilch. Zero. Now, let's switch over to baseball. Because, quite frankly, I couldn't wait to get on this story either. Because, boy, oh boy, you just hate to see it. What a sad, weak, pathetic way to go out. The Atlanta Braves. Hey, Arcia, how's that comment working out for you? Philly fans, let me tell you something. I love you. I fucking love you. Getting under this dude's skin was the greatest thing you will ever see today. It was hilarious. Then, the best part. The team is upset with the media for letting the quote get out of there. Here's an idea. You dumb bleeps. Don't say the comment then. We are in a day and age where anybody can overhear a conversation, and guess what? It's going to get out. It's the same thing with this Frank Clark stuff. At the end of the freaking day, guess what? It's going to get out. And either somebody's getting ripped for it, or somebody's getting praised for it. That is the world we live in with this whole media deal. Very, very simply, you can be upset, but you know what I say to that? Cry about it. You choked in the playoffs, and the Phillies went God mode on you and beat you to a pulp. And then, the best of the best, Philly fans never change. The absolute best thing was seeing that video leak out from the fans at the game of Arcia being a buffoon in the dugout. It was amazing. Philly fans, I fucking love you. Never change. You are some fucking animals. And I absolutely love it. And you know what? I'm going to just say it. I want that here in Detroit. With my Tigers. I'm not even kidding. I want this fan base to be like Philly fans. That place was jumping. That place was erupting. And I want that for my Tigers. But I'm serious. Philly fans never change. You are some absolute animals. But you are absolutely one of the funnest fan bases to be around. And not only that, but since we're on the topic of the Tigers, how's that Castellanos trade working out? You just hate to see it. Guy launches a damn bomb in the postseason. Same thing with Bryce Harper. And you know what? I'm going to bring it up. I'd love to know who is our Bryce Harper for the Tigers. Alright, let's get into week 6 here. Let's talk about this. So, first and foremost, whose game is this? In the sense of Ben Johnson, DC, or Aaron Glenn. To me, it's a Dan Campbell game. And I'll tell you, I'll be quite honest with you. This to me is a Dan Campbell game. I need conservative Dan. Take the points, less chances, trust in the kicker, trust in the defense, trust in the running game. Time of possession, bleed the clock, and it's a business trip. Get out with a win, and let's talk about this team. So I need to know from you guys, where are you guys at with it? Is this a Ben Johnson game? Offense has to be firing on all cylinders? Is this a Dan Campbell game? Or is this a defensive game? Because look, the Bucks red zone defense is stout. So I want to know from you guys on it. Because to me, situations are going to matter. Defense has to step up. And to me, it is your best quality opponent in the last 3 weeks. So I want to know where you guys are at with it. I think it's very, very simple. I think your depth is going to matter. I absolutely think your depth has to matter in this game. And like I said, it's a business trip. Get out of there with a win. Point blank. Then I want to equate this to the Giants in a sense. Because here's the deal. To me, it's very, very simple. To me, with the Giants, you got to show a little bit of life Sunday night. And it's the same thing with Dan this week. I need to see a conservative Dan. Trust in the running game, trust in the defense, trust in the kicker, business trip, get out of there with a win. And not only that, but coach up your team. Let's just say Baker gets off to a hot start. Let's just say the team's down 10-0. As an example, I need to see emotion from Dan. I need to see emotion from the offensive line. I need to see emotion from Jared Goff. Like, I'm being straight up here. And to me, I think that's where we're at. I need to see this team coached up. And don't get me wrong, Dan Campbell's done an amazing job so far. But I need to see, I need to see this team coached up, because this is uncharted territory. And I'll tell you this, I think we're going to be talking about it a lot of times throughout the season. I really do, because of the fact of that. This is one of those things to where, as I said, this is your best start since 2011. Guys, we're hitting that uncharted territory kind of deal here. And so, yeah, I want to see this team win. And not only that, but I'll just go ahead and I'll tell you this. First and foremost, I do want it for you guys. I want it for the fan base. Now, yes, that does include me. But the fact of the matter is that, no, I don't want to come on here and it be a loss. Because I know we'll have to deal with. But the fact of the matter is that it's not going to change how I feel about this team. It's not going to change the fact of that this season has been a ride. And so for me, the way I look at it is, all right, cool. Let's continue that ride. Let's continue the fact of that we got places to be, people to see, and it's a business trip. Like, that's where I'm at. Alrighty. So with that said, we're going to finish up this. Let's talk about a few upcoming things here. So, hopefully no more real life scares. That was pretty scary. Regarding myself, it's something I will eventually talk about. But I'm more focused on football today, if you can't tell. So we'll talk about that in another video. But very, very simply, yeah, hopefully no more real life scares. And then we are going to be back to TJ's probably Monday. I know we've got like 3 different ones set up regarding the next couple of streams here. So we're going to be all over the place. But I do know next video we're going to be back to TJ's. Not really sure what he's got planned for me to do. But then we will be back on my build on DR's new map. We got a couple of these maps to get into, which I'm super, super excited about. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it as far as that goes. So, nice. So, with that said, that is going to do it. Oh, wait, I forgot to show you guys this. Foraged. The Razor. Freaking lifted. This thing's freaking sick. Then we got the Denali. So, with that, that is going to do it for this one. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If y'all did, drop a like, drop a comment. And y'all know the drill. We're going to be grinding as much as we freaking can. We are going to be putting forth a pretty good effort within the next couple of weeks because my main plan is to finish strong heading out of 2023. So, with that